Hey guys, welcome back. This is Tucker from Kite, and today we're going to talk to you about some considerations that you're going to want to make when you're buying your next hydrofoil. So this doesn't matter if you're getting your first foil, you've never done it before, or whether you're getting your 10th foil, you know what you want. These are some of the considerations that you're going to take into account. So we've been out there testing like crazy. We try all these things, we ride them, we talk to all kinds of people, and we carry the top brands rather than just sizes. There's so many more things that go into foil design, and now that there's a lot of options out there on the market, you can really pick and choose. So this week we're gonna go through all the questions that you need to ask yourself before you make your next foil purchase. So one of the first considerations you might want to make as an experienced rider is how much you're going to spend and how much you want your foil to weigh. So generally those things are at odds with each other. The more you spend, the lighter you can get your foil, the easier it'll be to carry around, and the more nimble it will be in the water. If it's your first foil, maybe you don't care if it's a little heavier. It's going to give you a little bit more mellow ride and give you a little bit of ballast so that you can really just kind of smoothly make your way through the water, less twitchy and crazy. So then you can get yourself a little bit more affordable foil and get out there, get more durable equipment with less stuff to take care of, and get out there and progress more quickly because of that additional ballast and momentum that heavier foil is going to give you, all while saving a little bit more money. So that's kind of where you're going to figure that out and where you're going to fill in there. One kind of exception to that rule of more expensive is lighter is going to be the NP Glide surf foil. Kind of balances out somewhere in the middle. Real affordable at $8.99, but also quite lightweight for its size. So one thing you're going to want to ask yourself is whether you've been riding for a while and whether you mind carrying that heavier foil down to the beach, whether you can really benefit from something that's lighter weight and more nimble in the water, or whether you're happy to have something that's a little smoother riding and less affected by currents and chop. And you can always decide, based on budget as well, because sometimes that's one of the more important things. So as always, click the eye icon in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. It's going to take you to our Foil Boarding Knowledge Center where you can get even more information. This one especially is kind of a technical thing we're talking about. So get to the blog, check it out there. Read through that, you're going to get a lot more information. So jump into that eye icon. We're going to give you some recommended gear, some different options, and that way you can get in there, take a little look at the actual physical product and what it might do for you. Another consideration that you're really going to want to pay attention to is your board connection. Different foils have different ways of connecting to your board. So if you already own a board or if you have a specific board in mind, you're going to want to make sure that your foil is compatible with your board so that you can connect them. There's three main types of foil connections in foiling right now. Although there's more than that, the three really make up the majority of what's out there. The plate style or the track system is by far the most prevalent. It's, in our opinion, one of the most strongest connections and definitely the most adjustable. So that's going to allow you to drop your plate onto the board, 4 screws into the tracks, and adjust forward and backward on the board to where you might feel that foil is best suited for the board and where you want to stand on it. So you want to ask yourself, what does your board require as a mounting style? A second most popular option would be the deep tuttle. Now this is coming from windsurfing, so a lot of the windsurfers are using this, as well as some of the surf foils and some of the more expensive or sort of fringe kiteboarding foils. Another tuttle-esque kind of foil mounting style would be the surf box, or sometimes called the Go Foil tuttle. Now what this is essentially a deep tuttle with a flat top. It uses the same type of box, although it uses different screws and a different mounting pattern in that box. So you can't just put a Go Foil in a deep tuttle and screw it in. It actually requires a different hole pattern. So our next big question will be, what wing design do I want? Or what set of wing designs do I want? Because you have a front and a rear wing, or sometimes called a stabilizer wing. And these different wing designs are really going to provide one of the biggest changes in how that foil is going to ride and what it's best for. Primarily, you've got some different sizes there. The smaller the foil, faster it's going to go, the more power it's going to need or speed it's going to need to provide stable lift. The bigger it is, the slower it can go, the more stable it will be, and the less speed or the less power you're going to need to get it going. So going from race foiling to high-speed free riding, light wind kiteboarding, surfing, small wave sup, and downwind supping, kind of progressing from smallest to largest and they really do change quite a bit. So make sure you jump into the blog, find out which size is right for you. We've got a chart in there. It's going to get you to the right size, or as always, you can talk to one of us here in the shop to help you choose the right one, to get you the right surface area. It's a big consideration, and there's a pretty big range depending on the wing design and what you want to do with it, but we can match you up to the right one, get you going right. Another option you're going to have with the wings is going to be the thickness of the wing. So we have our surface area here, and then the thickness right here. So as you can tell with this NP glide foil, it's a surf foil, so quite thick. It's going to give you lots of lift for its size, although not a super high top speed, although these NPs do have a pretty good range for their size and thickness. That compared to, let's say, a slingshot, time code 68, you look here, even though similar size wings, this one's quite a bit thinner. I'll show you that up close here. You can see the thickness. So less lift, more lift, and that's based on the thickness of the wing. So the NP is a little thicker. It's going to give you a little bit more lift for its size and be a little bit more stable on the low end because of that additional lift that you're getting. That's going to allow you to get out in a little less wind or a little less wave power, but the top speed's going to be limited just a little bit there. So another option we're going to have here is the shape of the curve of the wing. So we've got our surface area, the thickness of the wing, and then the curve of the wing is also going to affect the riding style of the wing. So you might have caught this last week. We talked about the Anhedral curve on some of the surf foils we talked about and the do-it-all foils. And we're going to talk about that again in this video because it is an important factor, not so much in what wing you're choosing, but how that wing is going to feel, especially in the turns. So ask yourself, how do you want that foil to feel? What do you want to get out of that experience? If you've ridden other foils, pay attention, to how they're curved, and if you liked that curve, try to grab something that's similar to that. It's going to give it a similar feel and turn trackiness and how loose it is when you look at that. So what is an Anhedral curve? If you're looking at this time code, it's this curve here. It's a downward curve of the front wing, and this one's got a real smooth, gradual, mellow curve. And compare that against this Nash thrust where it's very flat and then the curve is kinked. These are almost like giant winglets, but we'll call them kind of an Anhedral curve of sorts. It has a much different feel. This one's more tracky. That lift doesn't project directly up. It's more out on the sides here. So this one is a more tracky feeling, locked in feeling kind of wing. And because of those angles out, that lift is significantly decreased because that surface area is projecting outward rather than upward. So while this one is still rather thick in terms of its lift, it's a little bit less than you'd think for its surface area. Another one to kind of look at here, we have the Lift 170. Again, quite thin here in the front wing, but that Anhedral curve is similar to the time code. It's very mellow, continuous, and that just gives a real fluid, efficient riding style, where it's not totally locked in, but it is there. It's not feeling slippery, but then also projects a lot of that lift upward where it can be used most efficiently in the form of lift. So you don't need to go any larger than you really need to for a wing. So some of the questions you'll ask yourself with regard to those design features: how slow do you want to go? Do you want to be real stable in that slow end? How high of a top end speed do you want? Like last week we talked about do-it-all foils, wanting to be able to ride a kite at the same foil as you surf, or ride a surf foil for kiteboarding. You want to be able to have a bigger wind range, because on the top end speed for kiteboarding, you can go 22, 23 miles an hour. So if your foil, stops at 16, 17 miles an hour, it can be a bit of a letdown. So if you're a multi-sport guy, a thinner foil, something that has a bigger speed range might be a consideration for you. Well, if you're just solely a surf guy and you're just kind of getting into it, you might want something that's got a little bit more lift, something that speed range is a little bit more mellow, maybe it's a little more stable in those lower speeds that you're encountering, or being just more stable in general for that beginner stage. It's going to kind of get you going on the right foot. But really all these foils are going to be great. They've got different feels. How much do you want it to be locked in? If you're already a surfer, you're familiar with talking about quads versus thruster fins and how those feel. and really how much locked in or tracky feel you want from those fins. It's going to be similar with foils. So with a quad, that's something like with big winglets or big anhedral curve, it's going to be a little bit more locked in and tracky feeling. But when you do lay into that curve, you're going to know at things on railroad tracks, it's going to stay with you. But on high speeds, it might be a little too tracky where you want to lay into it hard, but it doesn't necessarily want to make that tight radius turn. So think about that. The more curve, the more winglets you have on your foil, the more it's going to be like a quad fin, where it's a little bit faster, more tracky, not as tight a turning. Whereas if you have something a little flatter or more mellow with smaller winglets, it's going to give you a little bit more loose or controlled release feel, a little bit more skatey we'll call it, and use that efficiency for lift a little bit more efficiently. So as always, jump into the blog with the eye icon. It's going to take you to the written blog where it's going to break some of this stuff down a little bit more in depth. We're going to keep it surface level in this video, as well as in that blog you're going to see kind of a breakdown for different brands and how some of their different foils stack up in terms of price, the feel, and get kind of an idea of how each of those might react for you in that circumstance without having to dive in deep and hold one of these foils in your hand. This has been Tucker with Mac Kite. As always, we'd love to hear what you think in the comments section below. If you've ridden some of these, tell us what you think about how these design features affect and benefit you while you're riding. We'd love to start that discussion down below. As always, give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so you can check all our new videos when they come out in the coming weeks.